It's 4 o'clock as the bells chime. So this is 3.7, and we were getting into the lost teachings of Jesus next. Thank you all for being here with me, and I'm recording another video. So back to work tomorrow for me, and thank God, and hopefully I can do it, but I need to get back to work, so that's a good thing. So I'm excited for that in one way, but kind of hoping I can handle it on the other. My work is extremely physical, and I take care of really big houses. So it's fun, but it takes a lot of energy. So pray I have the energy to get my job done. And I might try to do some catch up this weekend because my clients are crying. They're like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm sick. Sorry. Be there when I can." And I never do that, so they're not used to it. Because I think I've only had like one other cold this year, and it was about 2 days I had it. I coughed for a little bit, but yeah, same thing, the respiratory funk that went around. We've been getting pretty hard hit this year with colds, as is, it seems like just a lot of people have been. Schools are shutting down and all kinds of stuff like that, and that's kind of rare, but it's happening right now for sure. Okay, trying to make sure all the buzzers and beepers are off, but if it's not, sorry. Okay, so here we go. The Lost Teachings of Jesus, and this is chapter 15, and we're starting at page 295. So, every soul is immortal. All that is soul presides over all that is without soul. That's profound. All that is soul presides, which means it rules over all that is without soul, and patrols all heaven, now appearing in one form, and now in another. Every man's soul has, by the law of his birth, been a spectator of eternal truth, or it would never have passed into this, our mortal frame, your body, our human beautiful bodies. Think about it. There's not many other beings as beautiful. You've got some Pleiadian beings that seem to be very beautiful. There's a few of them, but most of the other alien species aren't very pretty, comparative to us. But, we could think that because we are us. So I don't know. But I think there's something very powerful about our mortal frame. It's the frame, the template of man. Yet, still it is no easy matter for all to be reminded of their past by their present existence. Plato, 427 through 347 BCE. Phaedrus. Every soul is immortal, and all that is soul presides over all that is without soul. And it patrols all heaven, now appearing in one form, and now in another. Every man's soul has, by the law of its birth, been a spectator of eternal truth, or it would have never passed into this our mortal frame. Yet it is still no easy matter for all to be reminded of their past by their present existence. As I began to enter more deeply into the hidden mysteries of the goddess, I found myself wanting to know what Jesus had to say about the Divine Mother. After all, if Jesus was a fully realized God being, then certainly he would have known about the Holy Mother. So I began to look for the key pieces from Jesus in the lost teachings that may have been hidden in Christian thought. And it was not long before I realized that many of the essential teachings of Jesus had been exercised by the church authorities I can't say that word, Wilbian of Westminster Abbey writes, so Archdeacon Wilberforce of Westminster Abbey writes about the early corrupters of our known Gospels. Okay. Okay, sorry, I got stuff getting ready to fall over and go boom. Okay, so he writes about the early corrupters of our known Gospels. After the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, the manuscripts of the New Testament were considerably tampered with and changed, and most were removed. Professor Nestle, in his introduction to the textual criticism of the Greek Testament, tells us that certain scholars, called correctors, were appointed by the ecclesiastical authorities and commissioned to correct the text of scriptures in the interest of what was considered orthodoxy. These orthodox correctors took great care to edit out any teachings from the gospel that they did not want the Christians to follow. So, in the next few chapters, let's take a look at some of these excised teachings, which fall into three main categories: reincarnation, karma as a mechanism for soul development, the importance of showing kindness to animals, and the existence of the Divine Mother, a subject that deserves its own chapter. It deserves a chapter all in its own. The path of the soul through time. Today, most people do not realize that the concept of reincarnation is still a worldwide belief, held by billions of people around the globe. In the West, statistics show that the people who embrace this belief are usually affluent, well-traveled, and educated professionals. The belief in reincarnation has been central to many great world cultures, including those of the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Hindus, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Buddhists, and of course, the Druids. Evidence of this philosophy has been discovered among the Scythians, Africans, and the Pacific Islanders, as well as the native tribes of the North, South, and Central America. It was also deeply woven into the early centuries of Christian, Jewish, and Islamic belief. The thread of a firm belief in rebirth has woven its long web, unbroken from the dawn of time to the pragmatic present. It has circled the earth again and again, touched nation after nation, leaving not one. Consider also that it has never been upheld by the bigoted, nor by agencies of persecution, but invariably by the educated and open-minded, the wise, the good, and the mystical. Reincarnation in Jewish and Muslim teachings. At the time of Jesus, reincarnation was an accepted part of the Hebrew theology and was included in the Christian canon for the first 5 centuries of its existence. Josephus, the Jewish historian, writes that it was the doctrine of both the Pharisees and the Essenes, and it was part of the original Jewish beliefs. Both Kabbalists and Hasidic Jews tell us that every person has a divine spark imprisoned inside of him, and that man's destiny is to liberate the divine spark. And, as a scholar, Ben Zion Boxer puts it, to unite with the larger unity of creation and creator. The Jewish philosopher Philo of Alexandria taught reincarnation at the time of Jesus, 20 BCE through 500 CE or through 50 CE, as did the Chaldean Jewish sage Hillel. The leading Pharisees in Jerusalem from the late 1st century BCE, Pythagoras, Plato, Plutonius, Seneca, Circio, Ovid, Virgil, and Marcobius, all subscribed to reincarnation. And these Greek philosophers and their teachings lie at the heart of Western civilization. Reincarnation is also a part of the Zohar, a Kabbalistic text from 80 CE, written by Rabbi Simeon ben Yoshai. I don't know how to say that, sorry. Sorry if I butchered. All souls are subject to the trials of transmigration, he says, both before coming into this world and when they leave. Souls must re-enter the absolute substance whence they have emerged. And if they have not fulfilled this condition during life, they must commence another, a third, and a fourth, until they have acquired the condition which fits them for reunion with God. Zohar, Volume 2, FOL 99, Rabbi Manishiach ben Israel, 1604 through 1657, writes, the belief or the doctrine of this transmigration of souls is a firm and infallible dogma, accepted by the whole assemblage of our church with one accord, so that there is none to be found who would dare to deny it. Indeed, there are a great number of sages in Israel who hold firm to the doctrine as a fundamental point of our religion, as the truth of it has been incontestably demonstrated by the Zohar and all the books of the Kabbalists. In Islam, reincarnation is a core tenet taught by Muhammad himself. Here are just a few quotes from the Quran. God generates beings and sends them back over and over again until they return to him. God is the one who created you all, then provided you sustenance, then will cause you to die, and then will bring you to life. How can you make denial of Allah, who made you live again when you died, and will make you dead again, and then alive again, until you finally return to him? Many famous philosophers, artists and scientists have embraced this philosophy, including many other people. Oh my gosh, this list is long. We've got Emanuel Swedenborg, Immanuel Kant, Frederick Jacobi, Gotthold, Lessing, Johann Hender, David Hume, Wolfgang, Goethe, Benjamin Franklin, Frederick the Great, Carl Jung, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Napoleon Bonaparte, Henry Ford, the American industrialist Henry Ford wrote this. When I discovered reincarnation, it was as if I had found a universal plan. I realized that there was a chance to work out my ideas. Time was no longer limited. I was no longer a slave to the hands of the clock. I would like to communicate to others the calmness that the long view of life gives us. Some of the most famous writers and philosophers of the last 3 centuries have embraced this concept, including American novelist, poet Louisa May Alcott, the British novelist Aldous Huxley, and the Irish poet W.B. Yeats. This illustrious list also includes British novelist Rudyard Kipling, the English poets William Wordsworth, John Keats, and Percy Bysshe Shelley, and Alfred Lord Tennyson, the Poet Laureate of Britain, Reincarnation, a Poet Laureate of Britain. Reincarnation was embraced by French novelist Honoré de Balzac, Gustave Flaubert, and Victor Hugo, as well as American poets Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Henry David Thoreau, and Walt Whitman. Reincarnation and Jesus. Today, most Christians do not realize that in the first 500 years of Christianity, reincarnation was central to its teachings and was even taught by the early church fathers, Clement of Alexandria, Justin Martyr, St. Jerome, St. Gregory of Nyssa, St. Augustine, St. John, St. Athanasius, and St. Basil. St. Gregory, the Bishop of Nyssa, 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 I don't know, 257 through 332 CE wrote, "It is absolutely necessary that the soul should be healed and purified, and if it does not take place during its life on earth, this must be accomplished in future lives." Origen, considered the greatest philosopher and biblical scholar of his day, 185 through 254 CE. He wrote books for the church about reincarnation, saying, "The soul is immaterial and invisible in nature. It at one time puts off any one body and exchanges it for a second. Every soul comes into this world strengthened by the victories or weaknesses, by the defeats of its previous life." His books also included chapters on the subtle levels of the dimensions of angels. In his own era, Origen was considered a saint, but 3 centuries after his death, he was excommunicated for heresy. Reincarnation simply did not fit into the church policy anymore. Origen's words, reprinted below, mirror Jesus' own. Is it not more in conformity with reason that every soul, for certain mysterious reasons, is instructed and introduced into a body, and introduced according to its deserts and former actions? The soul, which is not physical and is invisible in its nature, exists in no material place, without a physical body suited to the nature of that place. It, one time, puts off one body, which was necessary, but which is no longer adequate in its changed state, and it exchanges for a second. That's interesting. While today, most people are blithely unaware that these teachings were once included in our Bible, traces of these teachings still remain. Remember when the apostle, speaking about John the Baptist, asked Jesus, "Is he Elijah come again?" They wanted to know if John the Baptist was the reincarnation of Elijah the prophet. And Jesus answered, "I tell you that Elijah has come, and they have treated him as they pleased." Mark 9:13. There was also an incident when Jesus heals a man who had been blind since birth, and the apostle asks, "Rabbi, who sinned this man?" Or who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, saying, "Neither. This man nor his parents sinned, but that the works of God should be revealed to him. John 9:1-3. Since this man had been blind at birth, he could not have sinned unless it was a carryover from a past life. Gnostic Christian Tao Malachi writes, "You do not live one life, but many lives. Your soul passes from one life into the next until it fulfills its divine destiny. You have not come into the world for the sake of the world, but for the development and evolution of your soul. The challenge in entering into the world is to remember why you have come and to remain undistracted so that you might accomplish your purpose for which you have come. The world is as a darkness wrapped in a glittering light, and the power of ignorance and forgetfulness is strong in it. But the true light is within you, and it is the extension of this light that you must seek in the world, and so resurrect yourself and the world." And then there is the concept of karma, closely linked to that of reincarnation. "As ye do unto others, so shall it be done to you," Jesus says. "As ye give, so shall it be given unto you. As ye judge others, so shall ye be judged. As you serve others, so shall ye be served." Matthew 7:1. This is the belief that when we do not come, this is the belief that what we do will come back to us, that our actions have consequences. Imagine what a difference it would make if people truly knew that when they cheat, they will be cheated on. When they kill, they will die by violence. When they are cruel, they will suffer in a similar fashion. Whether in this life or the next, Jesus expresses this again in the Gospel of the Holy 12, a Christian manuscript written in Aramaic that was found in a Buddhist monastery in Tibet. "As ye do in this life to your fellow creatures, so will it be done to you in the life to come." Jesus also reminds us, "He who lives by the sword dies by the sword." Matthew 26:52. In the Gospel of the Holy 12, we also find the original account of the conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus shortly before the crucifixion. Since many of us know that the edited version in the canon Gospels, this version makes so much more sense with the deleted passages back on the page. Here, Nicodemus is asking Jesus how a man might be born again. Hold on a second. Okay. Sorry. Okay. How a man might be born again. Okay. A certain rabbi, Nicodemus, came unto him by night for fear of the Jews, and said unto him, "How can a man be born again when he is old? Can he enter a second time into his mother's womb and be born?" Jesus answered, "Verily, I say unto you, except a man be born again of flesh and of spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. The wind bloweth where it listeth, and ye hear the sound thereof, but cannot tell whence it cometh or whither it goes. The light shineth from the east even unto the west. Out of the darkness the sun ariseth, and goes down into the darkness again. So it is." Phew! Sorry, excuse me. Okay. So it is with man from the ages unto the ages. When he cometh from the darkness it is that he hath lived before. And when he goeth down again into the darkness, it is that he may rest for a little, and therefore again exist. As though many changes must ye be made perfect. As it is written in the book of Job, I am a wanderer, changing place after place and house after house, until I come into the city and the mansion which are eternal. Wow. As Nicodemus said unto him, How can these things be? And Jesus answered him and said unto him, Art thou a teacher in Israel, and understandest not these things? Verily we speak that which we do know, and bear witness to that which we have seen. And ye receive not our witness? If I have told you of earthly things, and ye believe not, how shall ye believe if I tell you of heavenly things? No man that ascendeth into heaven, but he that descendeth out of heaven, even the Son, daughter of man, which is in heaven. Holy 12:37, 4-10. In the Humani Gospel of Christ, we read about the Jesus sitting with his disciples by the west of the temple, when a group of mourners pass and carrying a body for burial. The disciple asked, Master, if a man die, shall he live again? And Jesus answers by saying, For them that have done evil there is no rest, but they go out and in and suffer correction for ages, till they are made perfect. But for them that have done good and attained unto perfection, there is endless rest, and they go into life everlasting. They rest in the eternal. Over them the repeated cycles of death and birth have no power. For them the wheel of the eternal revolves no more. For they have attained unto the center, where eternal rest and the center of all things is God. Again, I just saw we might be looking at diving into the center of the universe to return home. Wow. Okay. All right, guys. I will pick up soon with reincarnation in the early church. And I don't know if I'm really going to read too much of that because there's not a lot left in the reincarnations of the church, and all it is about roasting in the eternal fires of hell. Knowledge also has the power to alleviate the fear, guilt, and shame and hopelessness that has been used for centuries to force humanity into blind obedience. Boy, isn't that truth? Wow. I might have to read that. It was kind of good. I try to skip around in this book, and I want to like skip through stuff, and then I'm like, it's really good. Good information. I just don't think I can. So I love you guys. We're getting through this, though. We're getting really good. We only have about 150 pages left, and we've already gone through 400. Almost. Well, we're at 303. So, yeah, we're 303. Page 303. Interesting. So, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're finding this stuff informative. I've read a lot of the Lost Gospels, and they blew my mind because they did confirm reincarnation. They confirmed the demiurge, the archonic mind virus, which is the duality of all things, all of this stuff. It just made such sense to me. And that was my foundation of starting to reconnect with the goddess, Sophia, wisdom. Because I knew you can't have one without the other. You got to have the mom if you're going to have the dad. And just made sense in my brain. And I was like, holy smack, I forgot about that part. It's time to wake up and smell the reality and get back in touch with my mama. So I started doing that work back then. And it changed me in a very positive way. It made me a gentler, kinder, it bathes you in love and compassion and all of those nurturing, beautiful qualities of a loving mother. A loving mother. So, this is why in the Bible, Jesus says, learn to hate your mother. And that's what he's talking about. He's like, you need to understand, you're in a temporary situation here. So your mother, yeah, she gave birth to you in this reality, but that is not your true mother. Your true mother is the divine goddess. And that true mother is more than you can even comprehend or fathom. And she's connected to the Father and the All and the I Am, and it's so beautiful. And I knew we always came from water, the dark waters. I saw that from the time I was a small child. And I remembered coming into this reality from the higher dimensions. And I remember how it felt, and I remember I didn't like it at all. So when they say that the ones who will ascend to heaven are the ones who have descended from heaven, that might be true. So, you all here, you've descended from heaven, and we will return when we're done. So I love you. I'll see you on the next one, and we will continue with the Divine Sophia. I love y'all. Bye.